Hi there, this is Clint again, and today I'm going to be upgrading this demonstration and the code for 2022 in the latest Docker Compose environment. So if you're not familiar with this video, you can go out and find the Zero Trust Postgres video on OpenZiti, take a look at the original video, and then when you want to use it in 2022, come back here. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to give you a git status. You'll see that I am on origin update JDBC Postgres sample. I'll be merging this shortly, but if you find this video quicker than when it's merged, you might need to check out the branch. On this branch has an updated cheat sheet, as I like to do, and here is that cheat sheet. You'll see all the steps are included. The first step you'll need to do is to clone the Ziti repo or use curl and download the Docker Compose file and the M file. That is what I've done. So if we come over here and take a look, we can look at, not in this folder up here, we can look at docker compose.yaml. You can see I have added Postgres with some passwords, and I use the volume that my Windows subsystem for Linux can handle. And I did all that, which is the next step in the cheat sheet. So after that, it wants me to issue Docker Compose down, and that is to just prove that there's nothing left around. So we just did that. And then we want to do a Docker Compose up and start things off. It takes some time. So while that goes and gets moving, we're going to bootstrap the Postgres database. So I'm going to use docker exec in as root for the Postgres Ziti private blue router. Oops, go ahead and do that now. Once I'm inside of here, I'm going to apt install and apt update and apt install PostgreSQL client. And then I'm going to actually connect to the database using this command right here. pg password equals Postgres, psql minus h PostgresDB minus u Postgres. So let's go ahead and run those things now. You can see Ziti still getting going. Now, when you copy these commands, you have to copy them in two blocks. You can copy down to the connect database. You can see I'm in Postgres. So let's go ahead and paste that. I'm going to drop the database if it exists, create the database, alter the database, and then connect to the database. Bingo. Now we're ready. Now I can create the table, I can insert some dummy data, and I can select from that table just to prove that I actually have done what I want to do. It's very fast. It's already done. Here's some data. Good to go. I can now exit my database and exit the private blue router. If you want to, you can do a docker ps and prove that port 5432 is not exposed, but I'm not going to do this time around. Now I'm going to bootstrap the Ziti environment. You can see it's already running. Up top, we can see it's all settled out. So let's connect to the controller. Once I'm in the controller, you can either log in the long way, or you can use Ziti login. I'm going to use Ziti login. If you're running this again, you can issue these delete commands, but you don't need to, that's for sure. You do need to issue these create commands. One of the most important pieces of the puzzle that's different here is I'm using an intercept v1, that's different. I'm using a host v1, that's different. And I'm using a dial and a bind policy, and I'm using the Ziti private blue identity, which is now included in the quick starts and in the Ziti Docker Compose environment. So let's go ahead and run all of those commands now. We'll see 5 new config, new service policy, new service policy. 5 things have happened. Cool, we're almost ready, we're almost done. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to create an identity, which is, I wonder why that's not looking like code. It should look like code. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now it looks like code. So we're going to create an identity for Java, and then we're going to enroll that identity while still inside of the Docker Compose environment. We'll let that go. Once that's done, I'm going to copy that identity out of my Docker Compose environment. You can see the identity was written. Copy the identity out. And then since I'm using Windows, and I'll show you this in a second, I need to move that identity someplace where I can use it. Okay, so now we're all bootstrapped, ready to go. One more thing I do want to point out is if you're not using Windows, you will need to change the Ziti init. And one last thing to point out is this. There is a bug that has occurred after 0.23.7. So if you're looking at this in June, check out, make sure that that bug has been fixed. I filed the bug. You can go out onto the GitHub and find it. But you do need to make sure you get the 0.23.7 jar. That's the latest one that works. So let's go ahead and just hit the old play button up here and see if our code actually does what we want it to do. And it does. Look at that. Results from the database. So we have gone through, selected from the database, and printed out to the database. And just to prove that it works, we're going to go back and into the JDBC Postgres directory. One thing you'll notice is I did not realize there was no Gradle W. It wasn't checked in. So I'd asked a discourse user, Mark of Mine, shout out to Mark of Mine, to run Gradle W, but it wasn't there. So that's my bad, Mark of Mine. It's there now. So now you can run Gradle W, and let's make this a little bit bigger. Gradle W, in this case, since I'm running Windows.bat, I'll say run. It's Windows PowerShell, so it's finicky a little bit. Let's go ahead and run Gradle W.bat run. And you can see doot-de-doot, results from the database. And that is how it should be done. You should not have to download any jars. Gradle should do all of this on your behalf. You should be able to run Gradle W run now, and it should all just work. And that's the updated video. We'll see you around Discourse. If you have any questions, shout us out. See you next time.